Okay, are you ready for today's historical hidden figure fact? We are going to talk about ancient Egypt. Were the ancient Egyptians black? This ruffles a lot of feathers, apparently, because you wouldn't imagine the pushback you get for kind of stating the obvious, right? Why wouldn't you think that the ancient Egyptians of Africa were not black or of dark race? So let me say this. When I say black, I'm not meaning like African American. I'm not just even meaning Negro, but I'm talking about the dark races that inhabited the land. Again, let me take you back to my definition when I showed you in one video about what was the definition of the progenitor Ham. It says the youngest son of Noah, born probably about 96 years before the flood, and one of 8 persons to live through the flood. He became the progenitor of the dark races, not the Negroes. This is so important to understand, especially as I show you a video that's coming up next. But he was the progenitor of the Egyptians, Ethiopians, Libyans, and Canaanites. Where can you find this? In the Zondervan Dictionary, Bible Dictionary. You can look up the definition of Ham and who he was the progenitor of. Now, the dark races include many people that are of dark skin. Does not mean that you're African American. It doesn't mean that you're of the same nation. You just have dark skin. And that is so hard for people to wrap their head around, because if they see someone that looks like me, they want to label them automatically black. But what black? Because we are made up of different nationalities and ethnicities and cultures. Our skin color cannot just dictate everything about us, right? This is surface, right? And so we have to understand that. And so I wanted to start by reminding you of who are the progenitors, who Ham progenerated, the dark races, not the Negroes. The Negroes are of the lineage Shem, okay? We are of Shem, which goes back to direct descendants of the bloodline of Christ. All right, so we're going to get into today's video. I hope that you enjoy this historical hidden figure. And I am just here to present information. I'm not here to convince you of anything. You have to search the truth out with your whole heart. What does the Bible say? Seek out your salvation with fear and trembling. I am just presenting you with information. I always say, pray about it. Say, God, will you lead me to the truth? And will you give me eyes to see? Will you give me ears to hear and a heart to receive, so I don't get caught up in this flesh and get led astray? But I always want to have a heart to receive the truth and never want to be deceived. And if you pray that prayer, I promise you, God is a good God. He will lead you to all truth. So let's get into today's video.
Ancient Egypt has long been described as one of the greatest civilizations of all time. The Sphinx, pyramids of Giza, and countless more treasures still to be unearthed. The River Nile has a history as long as its body, but we'll get into that later. Here in the heart of ancient Egypt, what we know about the civilization is largely from what has been left behind. Artifacts reveal the Egyptians had a diverse belief system, its own language, and a complex hierarchical and political structure. But there are some questions with divided answers, namely that of the ethnicity of the ancient Egyptians. Africans, sure, but were they black? Cheikh Anta Diop was a Senegalese historian and anthropologist. He was a firm believer that the ancient Egyptians were in fact black. According to his research, the skulls of ancient Egyptians had physical features resembling the peoples of the Upper Nile region, East Africans, and Nubians, all visibly black populations. But his theories aren't shared by all experts on the matter. We spoke to Dr. Zahi Hawass, an award-winning, world-renowned archaeologist. His life's work has been dedicated to the discovery and research of ancient Egyptian antiquities. Not surprisingly, his office is full of books on the topic. some of which depict dark-skinned ancient Egyptians. But he says there's an explanation.
No, they were dark-skinned,
but they were not black.
But they are not Negro. Because look at the length of the Negroes like that and the nose like this. It's not really in the Egyptian origin at all. It's different, completely different.
Now, he said something quite fascinating, and if you have ears to hear, you can catch on. He said, yes, they are dark race, but not the Negro. These are Cushanites. These are Egyptians. These are Libyans. These are not the Negro. The Negro is of the Sham line. Again, goes back to this definition. He says, Ham, this is out of the Bible dictionary, the youngest son of Noah, born probably about 96 years before the flood and one of 8 persons to live through the flood. He became the progenitor of the dark races. This is what he's trying to say. Yes, the people of Egypt were dark, but they were not the Negro, because the Negro are of the Sham line. But guess what? It says he became the progenitor of the dark races, not, where is it? Not the Negroes, but the Egyptians, Ethiopians, Libyans, and the Canaanites. Let's keep watching.
And this is why you cannot connect the Egyptian civilization with the African at all. It's different. Or from Syria, Palestine, Mesopotamia, it's different completely. Sheikh Anta Diop is from Senegal. And he announced that the origin of the Egyptian were Negro, based on the statues of Ramses II and the statues of Tutankhamun was black. And actually UNESCO did make a conference to discuss that. And they said there is no evidence, we have to postpone this.
Another group, Diop's research, claims to justify a black identity in ancient Egypt, but the Kushites of Kush Kingdom. Originating in what is today Sudan, the kingdom began in 1070 BC and lasted some 1,400 years. It was after King Kushta invaded Egypt in the 8th century BC, Kushite kings ruled the 25th dynasty of Egypt as pharaohs for a century. But what race were the Egyptians the Kushites met when they got there?
It's true that the black from Kush ruled Egypt in Dynasty 25.
Right.
And this is what the black Americans are proud of.
Yes.
But they mix the 25th dynasty with the Old Kingdom and the New Kingdom. They don't know the difference. Then they think that Egypt is a black civilization. It's not true. The black from Kush in the south ruled Egypt. It's a fact.
Yes.
But it's not the Egyptian civilization, it's not a Negro civilization. Another theory that I believe in it, that the Egyptians were Egyptians.
With arguments for and against ancient Egyptian blackness, we decided to take our own journey to the past. It began at the Egyptian Museum of Antiquities, otherwise known as the Museum of Cairo. It's home to many gracious artifacts telling many stories of ancient Egypt's history, and we're hoping to find some answers. Inside the museum, we take a closer look at the place housing more than 100,000 pieces of history. Here we stand in front of a statue of Akhenaten. The pharaoh ruled during the 18th dynasty of Egypt and was husband to Queen Nefertiti and father of the famous boy king Tutankhamun. In front of the statue, our tour guide lends her opinion on the debate of race.
We are African, we are black.
Further to her point, she shows us the bust of Hatshepsut, the woman king who also ruled during the 18th dynasty. She's one of only 2 women believed to have been pharaohs in ancient Egypt. Well, just behind me we have the statue of Queen Hatshepsut, and automatically you can see the strength of her features, her nose, her mouth, but obviously the dark color of her beautiful skin. Queen Hatshepsut was the daughter of Tutmosis I, the wife of Tutmosis II, and the stepmother of Tutmosis III. Just outside Cairo, we reach the pyramids of Giza, one of the 7 wonders of the world and part of one of the 7 UNESCO World Heritage Sites here in Egypt. The pyramids were tombs filled with jewelry, perfumes, and other valuables for the pharaohs who were expected to use them when they became gods in the afterlife. Giza represents a graveyard for this life and a resting place, a home for the afterlife. Close by is the Sphinx. The statue depicts a mythical creature with a human head and the body of a lion, which stretches 240 feet long and reaches 66 feet high. The marvel reignites our questions about race. The noses on the statues of many ancient Egyptian pharaohs, as well as the Sphinx, have been destroyed. Claims lay blame for that destruction at the feet of European colonists who felt the noses represented black faces. But other experts say the defaced statues were a result of iconoclastic attacks intended to deactivate the life believed to be within them, motivated by politics and spirituality, not racism. Geography also plays a key role in the ethnically diverse populations of Egypt.
The second theory that many people thought that the origin of the Egyptians were from Africa and the East Asia. Area of Syria, Palestine, and Mesopotamia. Then, based on what? They said that the Arabic language now, the grammar is the same like the hieroglyphic. And also the people from the eastern Syria, Palestine, their faces light, like the people in the Delta. The people in Upper Egypt, they are dark, African. And the African languages also has origin of the hieroglyphic grammar, the same.
The Nile Delta, where the river empties into the Mediterranean Sea, saw the coming of Europeans like Alexander the Great of Greece in 332 BC, who laid claim to Egypt's third largest city, naming it after himself, Alexandria. To the east are the populations in what is now Syria and Palestine and reach as far as Turkey. And then there's the undeniable presence of sub-Saharan Africa and the black populations therein. So Egypt, therefore, is a melting pot of history, culture, language, and race, united by one collective identity: African. Adefemi Akinsanya, Arise News, Cairo.
All right, it is time for today's Hidden Figures fact. And so I'll start by posing a question, but let's start with scripture first. Let's take a look. Matthew 2 verses 13 through 15 talks about the escape to Egypt. When they had gone, an angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream. "Get up," he said, "take the child and his mother and escape to Egypt. Stay there until I tell you, for Herod is going to search for the child to kill him." Now, knowing what we know about ancient Egypt and it being a land of the darker race, a land of people who had darker skin and complexion, how is it that the Jesus that is painted in Hollywood with blonde hair and blue eyes, how could he hide among a darker skinned people? It's something to think about, right? You know, the movies often depicts Jesus as this very attractive man that's got the girls swooning, but that's not what the Word of God depicts Jesus to be. He said he had no beauty in his own. He had nothing that would attract people to himself like that. But according to Hollywood Jesus, he got the girls swooning, he's got the hair flowing, the blue eyes, skin is popping, right? But that's not what the word reveals. But I'm just here to present information to you. It is up to you to pray about it and seek God, which you should do with everything. Acknowledge God in all of your ways, and he will lead you. I know a lot of the things that I say presents a lot of pushback, let's be honest, because I'm going against the grain by telling you these truths. I'm going against the narrative that has been painted. But if you have eyes to see and if you have ears to hear, you'll be able to receive what it is that I'm sharing. So I hope that these historical, hidden figure, biblical facts are actually helping you to grow in your thirst and hunger to want to know the word and to want to dig deeper into his word. And if it's just that, if I just lead you to want to know more of him, I'm satisfied with that, right? Because in the end, it's about him being lifted up. So I pray that this video was something that encourages you to dig deeper. All right, guys, I will see you next time with the historical hidden figure fact of the day. You all take care. Bye.